Okay, so before we zoom in on the main table here, I want to show you what we have in this particular diagram. Now, if I go back a couple of diagrams, for instance, this one, okay, this is the modal. This is the same thing, it's just done in big numbers here. But if we continue on back over to perhaps here, okay, let's look at this particular, and this is, by the way, 326. We haven't discussed this, and that is breaking down. These are the short patterns that drift to the left towards the fret nut, but the short pentatonics have always been built on these two squares here. S2L, the C string shape 345, and the G string shape 6/7 root. And then on top of that, an S3S, which is pentatonic, is just 2, 3, 5, 6 root 2. So if we break down triads, which is just 3, 5 root, or root 3, 5 right there, root 3, 5 key of C, root 3, 5 key of A, okay? Break them down into these shapes. That's all. If we want to place the short patterns, that's all we have to do is just keep building these triad shapes on top of one another. That was the gist of chart number 326. But let's look at these boxes here first, because to understand these is actually easier than the modal cages with the cutouts. Now these are modal, meaning we have our root, we have a root, okay, we have a second over here, we have a third here, okay, we got the fourth here, and these all are interlocked, but the ones that are shown are not. Now, for the most part, they're in fourths. The fourth of E is A, the fourth of A is D, the fourth of D is G, the fourth of G is C, but it doesn't work that way when you get to, for instance, going from the Locrian box to the Lydian box. It goes to a fifth again, a string-shaped fifth. So it's better to just use the numbers, okay, where we're looking at root, all right, and then we're going to a 5, okay, so it's like that, root to a 5, then we go 5 to a 2, it is a fifth. These are raw numbers now. 2 to 6, you know, is going to be a fifth. 6 to 3 is going to be a fifth. I just went down an octave there. 3 to 7 is a fifth. Now let's look at it here. They were in fourths and then it went to fifths, but now 7 to 4 is a fifth. So we're going to be working with numbers now. We're kind of graduating from the string shapes. But we're still going to use that concept whenever necessary. And we're certainly going to call a string shape what it is. Okay, but as far as the relationship between string shapes when they're building up, building down, building to the side, building to the left, those we can look at. If we're in the short patterns, it works well with the fifth, as long as you understand that the fifth of the E shape, which is an F here, is the C shape, and the fourth of a C shape, which is this C here, is the E-shaped F. But other than that, the other shapes all follow 1, 4, 5. So if you're in an F shape here, which is an F shape, an E-shaped F, and you go to its fourth, which is B flat, that's an A shape. The fourth of E is A. Okay, that kind of thing. And then the fifth of that E shape is C shape. and that causes problems around the fret nut. But if we're going to be using numbers, and this is exciting because it's going to get really easy. Now don't get discouraged. I'll show you what I'm talking about with the numbers. It's going to make a lot of sense. And we're also going to use triads, root 3 5, D minor 2 4 6, 3 5 7 E minor. Now I'll call it here's F. 4 major is 4 6 root, right? We're going to call it 4 major. We're going to call it F. We're going to call it 4 6 root. So we'll support those numbers with note names and with a triad and its quality, major or minor or even half diminished. So let's just finish up with this diagram. This is a play away diagram, so that root 2 3 string shape, but we also have a 4 here because when we get to the tuning warp, we're going to just play away from the fret nut and we're not going to play the open strings. But in today's chart that we're talking about, 331, we will have a rule to get these open strings, and it's going to be really easy. So in this diagram here, we have the root 2 3. Now I'm down C tuned, so I can go root 2 3 and the key is C. Root 2 3 4 5 6 7 root 2 3 4 5 6 7 root 2 3 4. And when I went to the 7 root 2 3 4 5 6 7 root 2 3 4, that's an E string shape. E string shape. Okay, fifth of E is C. Remember we talked about the fifth of the F. The E-shaped F is the C-shaped. Here's the C-shape, because that's your bottom string in the C box. Okay, so that is just what I call an S4E right there, except we're starting it here and then going through the tuning third with it. So we had to bring the top 2 strings up. So that's what this diagram is. It's a play away diagram. So let's look at the D box. I have a low D here. 2 3 4 5 6 7 root 2 3 4 5 6. Now the blackened is just so you can get the pentatonic, but we will be playing those as diatonic string shapes. So it's 2 3 4 5 6 7 root 2 3 4 5 6. Now we way up warp this 7 root 2 3 4 5. So this particular fretboard here that's on 326 has the playaways, but it doesn't take advantage of the open strings. So now we're back to today's chart, 331. This is a great chart. This really worked out well for me. And these cages, and keep in mind, if you look at this E box here, over here we're at E root. The next one up is the D cage. You don't see it because I didn't draw it there, because it would get too gaudy, so I drew them in fourths. But indeed, it goes from 2 to F sharp, so that D box is actually right here. You see, this would be your D cage. So they're interleaved. So instead of making it like the other ones where these labels start coming up here and down here and everything else, I just put them all in fourths and fifths. Okay, but number wise they all count the same, and these happen to count in fifths because we go root to the 4. Okay, these are in fourths actually. 4 to the 7, 7 to the 3. These are in fourths now, okay, because they're shorter than the other ones. So there's a cutout here. So what are we looking at? We're looking at, this is a string shaped stack. The E root string shape is root 2 3. Okay, so it's